Hey, what's up, guys? It's Devin here. I'm a psychiatrist and a regular family guy. Welcome to the Huddle Wisdom YouTube channel. This is actually the first time I'm doing this on YouTube live streaming. I think that once I'm done talking, the video saves and then it archives itself so you can access it later. So I'm going to share three steps or three concepts that I use if your children are having difficulties figuring out emotional problems. So, you see your kid having a hard time with an emotional issue and you want to help them. How do you do that? Sometimes it's tricky and there's a lot going on and we don't know what to do. We're busy, we're exhausted. If you're a busy parent, well, most parents are busy. Uh, it's going to take some energy to try and help them sort it out, right? And we tend to follow the path of least resistance. And sometimes that works well, sometimes it doesn't. So today I want to share with you um, three of my best concepts, which I think will be really helpful. You can put it together into a little system, and once you get it under your belt, you can incorporate it into um, most conversations that you have with your kids when you're trying to work out or figure out emotional problems. But before I go on, I just wanted to share with you. Um, I just wanted to let you know that we have a free workshop in a video series format called the Emotional Storm Toolkit. You can find it on www.huddlewisdom.com/get tools, and you can get a link to that in the description notes on the video later on. Um, Share it around, and all you have to do is just give us your email, and we'll send you yeah the toolkit. Okay, so uh, let's launch into it without further ado. What are these concepts that I've been talking about? Well, um, the one of the first things we have to keep in mind is that we can't control children. It's it's an illusion to think that we can. Um, we can only influence them and we can only guide them. Um, how we do that depends on how strong your connection is with them and how well you can you can engage with them on their level. So if you notice that they're having some emotional if they're experiencing some sort of emotional upheaval, you have to pick your moments. Um, clearly, it clearly depending on the intensity of the emotion that they are um, exuding, um, that's going to determine your approach. That's going to determine how you pitch the message. Obviously, you don't want to have a deep and meaningful with your kids when they're in the middle of a meltdown. That just doesn't make much sense unless you want to add fuel to the fire. Um, all well and good if you want to do that, but why would you want to do that? You um, some people do, but um, that's yeah. Anyway. Let's yeah. Anyway, um, hmm. So the first thing is we have to connect. How we do that, and well, how we how well we do that depends on how well we can control our own emotions. So the first thing I like to do is breathe. And then I like to think about this acronym, which I've borrowed from the Anonymous group. Um, and It's HALT. So H stands for hunger, A stands for anger, L for loneliness or boredom, T for tiredness. So I think this is a fantastic acronym to think about, especially when it comes to children, because it's an easy fix. Um, you know, hunger, food, feed them. Are they angry? Okay, I'll pick our moment. I won't talk to them right now. I'll just wait for the storm to pass and then I'll approach them later. I'll feed them first, though, if they're hungry. If they're tired, well, maybe it's best to let them rest. Um, Pick it up in the morning when they've recovered. Are they feeling lonely? Are they feeling bored? Perhaps it's best for us to get down in their level and play a game with them, or just hang out with them. Just find a space and some time just to reconnect with your kids. Don't launch into a deep and meaningful. Um, so yeah, so HALT. I think it's really helpful. It gives us some pause to think, to reflect, and just to put ourselves in our kids' shoes. Um, we also get to think about their needs, and maybe right now they don't need us to give them a big, deep, and meaningful about how to change behavior. So HALT, connect, breathe, HALT, fix those and address those issues first. And the next concept I like to think about is uh, SAVE, so save. It's a bit cheesy, I know, but it helps me to remember it. And there's a bit of overlap between what I was talking about earlier. The need to stop and halt, think about the moment, whether it's the right moment to engage, or maybe you have to wait for the storm to pass. But say you've done all that, okay, they're ready to engage. Um, they're well fed, they're well rested, they're not angry anymore. They might be a bit embarrassed if they've had an emotional upset, and they're not. Yeah, they're willing to talk. So SAVE, S stands for see and engage. So get down on their level. Don't make sure you are cognizant of your own body language, your own behavior. Um, Kids respond better when you get on their level. So physically get down on their level. Um, you know, Meet them face to face. Um, Really try and connect in a sensorial way. Um, Maybe a friendly touch on the shoulder if it's appropriate. Um, you know, Humor goes a long way too. Um, you want to see the child for who they are. You want to accept them um, with whatever they bring to you. Um, Kids are very sensitive to being uh, to being admonished. Um, so meet them without any agenda. You're there to help them. You're there to understand what it is that they're struggling with. See them, engage them, get on their level, meet them face to face, heart to heart. Um, A stands for acknowledge. So once you get on their level, you want to acknowledge where they're at. You want to validate that the feelings that they have are, well, they're valid. And it makes sense why they feel how they feel. It makes sense why they may have had some difficulties with a particular problem. Um, so, for example, if if you see your kids having some difficulties solving a problem which they've been struggling with for a long time, and they get upset, We all get upset. It totally makes sense. I can see why you're upset. Um, I would feel the same way too, for example. Um, and yeah, I can see it's difficult for you to talk, but I'm here. Um, yeah, I'm here for you. Let's try and figure this out together. Um, I don't know what's going on exactly, but I'd love to help if you let me. Um, have you had anything to eat? You still upset? Do you want me to come back later? Um, do you want to play a bit of a game? You feeling a bit tired? Do you want a bit of a rest? So, HALT and SA, which is, see the child, acknowledge, validate them. And you get on their level and you try and connect. Okay, so, and then V, I've mentioned before validation, um, but I'm also going to mention vote for options. So what that means is you give the child a limited range of options. And I've deliberately kept what I said open and broad, because you might present them options to de-escalate. You might present them with options to talk at various times. You might give them options to do different things with you, if the purpose is to try and connect with them. For example, I'll give you an example of what I mean by options. Um, so say little Johnny, he's had a meltdown. Say that I've done the initial HALT check-in. I've connected with him. I've validated where he is. Um, I've reassured him that I understand that what he's going through is completely normal and it makes sense why he's upset. And so now I give him some options about what to do next. So, hey Johnny, would you like me to stay here and wait a little while, and then once you're ready, we can talk. Option one. Option two, or maybe you don't want to talk, and we can pick it up tomorrow. So I can either wait, and we can talk about it once you're ready, or two, we can pick it up tomorrow. What do you think? So you give them some limited options. Don't give them too many, otherwise it's overwhelming. Um, Another example of some options to present might be, hey Johnny, um, love to talk to you about this stuff. It seems that it's a really important issue. Obviously, you felt very passionate about it, and that's why it seemed like you kind of got really upset. I don't know. I could be wrong, but you seemed upset, and would love to talk through some potential ways of solving that with you. A, B, C, right? And yeah, and then if you run out of ideas about what to say next, think about the HALT, S, the A, and the V. Halt and save. E in the SAVE acronym stands for empathy. Um, Empathy undergirds everything that we do. Um, all the interventions that we that we talk about in the Huddle Wisdom community, um, is grounded in empathic principles, principles that promote um, empathic understanding. Um, it's a very broad term, I know, but empathy is sort of like a mindset for adults to adopt. It's um, it speaks to a willingness to leave your ego at the door, um, to be humble, um, you don't want to judge or make snap decisions without fully understanding where the child is coming from. Where are they at really? How do they feel? How do they think? And if they talk back to you, um, let them let them do that because obviously they've got stuff on their chest that they want to say. And if kids talk, you're in business. Okay, it's hard when they don't talk. I'd much rather have a kid yelling at me than get the silent treatment. Because at least if they're yelling at me, I've got an opportunity to get some information to work with. If they don't say anything, it's really difficult. I'll talk about how to deal with that maybe in a later video. How do you deal with the silent treatment? There's ways around that. That's yeah, I think that's an idea for video for next time. So yeah, come back to the channel later, check in, or give me your email and I'll let you know when that happens. I think that will help you out. Where was I? Where was I? Where was I? I always do this. I always digress. I'm sorry, I digress. Okay, so E, empathy. Empathy undergirds everything. It's a skill, but it's also an attitude, a mindset, a way, a way of being. It speaks to things that it speaks to how you do things, not so much what you do, if that makes sense. Your ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and walk around in them. Really fully immerse yourself in their experience. You know, feel what they feel, see what they see, hear what they see, hear what they hear. Um, they might be, co- they might be uh, coming up against a barrier. Who's at the door at this time? Obviously, someone was very interested in this talk. Mm, Where was I? Yeah. Okay. So HALTSAVE. Third concept. What's the third? The step protocol. So it's a simplified problem solving process. S stands for say what the problem is. T stands for think of possible solutions to the problem you've just described. E stands for, ooh, I always forget this one. What is that? E, E, E. Ah, explore potential pros and cons and think about the feasibility and the reasonableness of the problem. And then P is you pick a solution and then you execute that solution and then you review um, how well it went and review whether there were any problems with that solution. And if they were, then run those problems through the step process because you want to deal with precursors of problems before you deal with the actual problem. Um, because if you don't deal with the problems that make it hard to solve the problem, you can't solve the problem. Does that make sense? So S, okay, let's dive into that a little bit. So S, say what the problem is, and you want to be as specific as possible. So you want to know the when, the where, the what, and the who of the problem. Why? Because if you don't, the the solutions that you think of will be way too general, way too broad. Uh, Usually, it works way better if you can be specific and clear as you can about the problem. So, for example, um, Johnny was upset clearly. The problem was, um, he had to do his chores. What were his chores? He had to put away the dishes from the dishwasher. But it was 3:30. It was about the time of his favorite TV program, and he felt rushed. Felt rushed, and he wanted to turn on the TV, which he's actually not allowed to do on the weekdays. But someone at school told him about, this TV program at 3:30, and then Dad says, "Hey, Johnny, you gotta do the dishwasher," and then Johnny has a meltdown, right? So, so the problem is, Johnny is frustrated that he has to do the chores because Dad says so. Without Dad didn't actually realize, why he was so upset. But anyway, okay. So Johnny, the problem is he wanted to watch the program, but was frustrated that he couldn't because Dad told him that he had to do his chores, and he didn't want to do the chores because he wanted to watch TV, and he was frustrated that he couldn't, and so he had a meltdown. Is that the problem? Yeah, I think so. Or is the problem the fact that Dad told him to do the chores at a bad time? There could be more than one problem, but this process helps you to write it down. Think about the where, the what, the when, and the who. Because if you can think about those four questions, you can then brainstorm what the actual problem is and pinpoint what the actual issues are. Once you've pinpointed what the issues are, you can then generate solutions or um, potential solutions to those issues. Hope that makes sense. When you think about a solution, it has to be feasible, reasonable, and acceptable to all the parties involved. Otherwise, it's just not going to work very well. Um, Also, it's better, well, it's ideal if the solution comes from the child. Then it's much more likely that the child will try it out. Less likely if it's a parent solution, more likely if it's a child led solution. Not a guarantee that they'll do it, not a guarantee, but more likely that they will. And E, explore the pros and cons of each solution. I hope that's obvious enough. You know, obviously, it's not reasonable for Johnny to come home and watch 5 hours of TV so he doesn't miss any program, right? It's not reasonable. It's feasible, but it's not reasonable or acceptable. Maybe if you're a savage, um, Johnny Savage. Johnny's a savage. And then, what was I up to? Yeah. S, say what the problem is. T, think of solutions. E, explore potential pros and cons. And then P, pick a solution. Once you've agreed on some solutions, potential solutions, and pick one that seems the most easiest to do. And then do that. And then if you're successful, fantastic. Um, review the review it if it didn't work out, and then repeat the process again. Figure out why that solution didn't work. Maybe you didn't describe the problem well enough. Maybe um, you just weren't specific enough. Maybe you forgot to check that uh, you forgot to check, was Johnny hungry? Because if he was, maybe he wasn't thinking straight. And so it might just be a simple, here's some food, Johnny. Um, you know, digest that, get some brain fuel, and now you can think about some better solutions. Maybe he was tired, he has to sleep. It's a myriad of factors, but HALTSAVE helps you to think about those those things that can hamstring you before you start thinking about solutions. Okay? There's a reason why the step process is way down the line. You want to do the connection stuff up, upstream first, way upstream. You have to connect. It's better if you're not hungry, tired, angry, right? And then you can do the other stuff. Right. Uh, there is one more step. So it's actually not three concepts. It's actually three and a half. It's okay. So okay, let's say that you've thought of a solution. So how do you go about executing that solution? So I think the best thing to do is to make sure that you structure it in a way that it gets done. So what do I mean? You draw up a little contract with Johnny. You call it a to-do list. A to-do list. Do list. Do it, Johnny. Do it. Do it. And I've got a template for that. Um, it will be. I'll send it to you if you give me your email. I'll create a link and you can click on it and you can give me your email and then I'll send it to you, a little PDF. It'll help you out. So it's called a to-do list, right? Amazing. Wow. Innovative. Oh, so innovative. Wow. Huddle wisdom. So innovative. A to-do list. Okay, so you write down the solution that you want to execute. Wow. Wow. Wow, amazing to-do list. To-do list. So easy. Now, the to-do list, what was I going to say? The reason why you have a to-do list is because sometimes the solution can be broken down into components as well to make it easier for Johnny to carry out. For example, the to-do list, on top of the list is Johnny needs to do the dishes. Well, what part of, you know, what part of that does he do? Does he do the whole lot? Like all the dishes? Which ones? The big ones, the small ones, the plates, the bowls? Which ones? We need to be specific. Johnny needs to put away the big plates. Johnny needs to put away the plates that have been used for breakfast, that are in the dishwasher. He has to pull them out. Have to be specific. Okay? So the to-do list is like your final sieve, right? So you've generated some solutions, and now you have to break down those solutions into some components so that Johnny can more easily achieve them. Achieve um, things that you've set out in the to-do list. It's also really great to have the to-do list because you can then praise each thing that he does. And praise has to be specific. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to reinforce the behavior that you want to see. You want to see more of, sorry. I hope that makes sense. So to recap, HALT, SAVE, STEP, so halt, save, step, and then generate a to-do list. That's it. That is it. So if you think about all those three and a half concepts, when you're trying to help your kids to solve problems, having those concepts will help you out. So you're not floundering around. wasting your time trying to think of what to do or how to do things. Hang your hat on those three concepts. You don't have to change your individual approach. Every family is different, every kid is different. You're different to me, I'm different to you. How you do things would be different to me. Your style is totally your style. But I like concepts because it means that they're not specific strategies, they're just concepts that um, you can take and make your own. But the core principles remain uh, the fact that you have to see the child. You must acknowledge and validate how they're feeling. You accept them for who they are and what they bring to you. No judgment, no scolding, because behavior doesn't you don't change behavior effectively if you scold. Um, I hope that helps you guys. Thanks so much for joining me on my very first YouTube live. Um, I'm going to end the stream very shortly. I'll just take a couple of seconds to grab some questions. Um, there's no one here, so there's no questions. Devin, do you have a question for me? No, Devin, I don't have a question for you. Thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I did. I had fun. If you don't watch it, that's okay. Don't worry, because I'll watch it. Don't worry about me. Okay. Thanks for having me in your laptop, on your phone, on your tablet. Um, I look forward to catching up with you again next time. And before I forget, check out the Emotional Storm Toolkit. Give me your email address. I'll send it to you. I'll send you the PDF of the stuff that I shared in this video. Um, I'm developing a course called the Practice of Empathic Discipline, and also the Foundations of Emotional Literacy. So the stuff that I just talked with you about, I go into it in a lot more depth, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And it's going to be a bit more organized than this. This is live. You're getting me. I'm starting to talk nonsense now. I better finish up. Okay, guys, I really appreciate you. Um, please subscribe. Let me know if you'd like to hear about anything else. And yeah, peace out.